What is going on, guys? How are you doing? My name is Vowels, and today I wanted to make a very quick video regarding graphic performance in the new game Outriders. So moving into our settings here, this game just came out. It is online server based, and with that you're going to see some issues regarding skipping or FPS drop. And it's kind of tough in a game like this. It's like, is it me, is it my hardware, or is it just the server? I played the heck out of this on stream for the first time last night, and I'm preparing to play it again tonight. If you are new to the channel and community, you can find me at twitch.tv/vowels. I have primarily been an Apex Legends streamer, as well as some other games, but this game has really grabbed my attention, and we're going to be playing the absolute heck out of it. So moving forward, after messing around with these settings and whatnot, and for reference, I have a 16 gigs of RAM, a 2080 Super NVIDIA RTX graphics card, and then my specs I can list below as well. They are also on my stream channel. You can see a full list of specs on the gaming PC and stream PC for reference. So moving into this, what we're going to want to do regarding window mode, really with any game, you can play windowed, you can play borderless window. I find playing in full screen, you're always going to get better performance. It's, it's weird. I'll see the same FPS if I go borderless window, but the game itself does not perform. It just feels shaky. It says we get full FPS, but it's very, very noticeable, at least for me, especially in Apex, switching over to full screen. So that is my preference. Monitor, this is just making sure you're on the correct monitor. I have a few, mine are kind of weird because I'm using an Elgato to my stream PC, so ignore this if it looks funky. Resolution, I play on a 144 hertz 1920 by 1080 monitor. You're just going to want to go native. Whatever your monitor is what you're going to want to do there. Me personally, and we'll go over both options, I do have an NVIDIA RTX graphics card. So this setting applies to folks with graphics cards that are NVIDIA RTX. So if you don't have one, this may be grayed out. I'm not actually sure, but we'll go back when we get into advanced here, and I'll show you what to do if you do not have one. So for those such as myself with the RTX card, I played around with all of these. It doesn't give you a lot of information about the difference between each one, rather, aside from the name. Ultra performance seemed like, off the bat, that would be the way to go. I did try them all. Honestly, I think quality is the way to go, especially on a 2080 Super. You might get a little better performance if you go this way. It's definitely not ultra noticeable, but you might get an extra few frames, but the game just looks so much better if you go the quality route. Resolution scaling, this should be at 100 always, regardless, so it's even grayed out, so don't worry about that. VSync, totally up to you. Some people like this. I find no matter what game I play over multiple graphics cards, whenever I turn this on, I get incredible screen tearing, and it's just really frustrating. I don't see a benefit to it, so I've always been one to leave that off. FPS limit, I mean, if you're gaming on a laptop, I would definitely recommend doing this. For someone on a PC, such as myself, I always just like to leave this off. It's not something that's really ever made a huge difference to me. Because if my computer wants to go high, it can go high. It's fine. I'm not doing anything else on the gaming PC. If you're a streamer and you stream on the same PC that you game on, you may want to turn this on as well. Myself, I do my streaming off a separate PC, so this isn't something that I typically worry about. But if it's something that you worry about, don't worry. Go ahead and set that to whatever you need, and that's it for that one. Cinematic max FPS, I crank this up to 120. I believe in the beta, this game was capped at 30 frames. I put it to 120. This game, much like just about any other game, it's going to cap out at 60 frames regardless. You can see we're at 60 right now, even in this menu. I put it to 120. I don't think it really makes a difference if you do that or do that. Anything from 60, 90, or 120, I think it's still going to cap at it's 60 unless they change that. Window lock, basically what this is you can make it so your cursor can or cannot go off the screen. I leave this on, especially when I'm streaming. If I'm in a menu and I accidentally go over here and click, because I'm playing in full screen, it might back the game out for a second, and it's just kind of frustrating. So I do recommend turning that on, just so you don't run into that issue by mistake. FOV, not super noticeable in this game. I do stream a lot of Apex Legends, and in a game like that, really any FPS shooter, you're going to want to crank this always, because it's definitely a very nice advantage, so your screen isn't incredibly narrow. For this game, I did not notice any significant FPS drops or anything like that by cranking it. I think by default, I forget exactly what it is. It's like 70 or something. I put it up to 90. You know, I think if there's an option for field of view, you should always crank it just so you see a little bit more on your screen. It gives you a little bit of an edge. Granted, this game is PvE. I think it just looks nice, and you do not really suffer any consequences for doing it. Brightness, of course, this is going to be, you know, person to person. For myself, the standard 1.0 has been plenty. Moving on to motion blur, totally preference. I personally cannot stand it. I've never been a fan of motion blur. If you get, I know some people, I have a few friends that, you know, can't play COD for extended periods of time because they get motion sick. You're gonna probably want to either, you know, tweak this to whatever your preference is. I always leave it off personally. Once we're all set here, we're going to want to go ahead and click apply. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then we're going to bring our way over to the display advanced settings. So now this is kind of where it gets a little bit different depending on, you know, if you're using that, this DLSS setting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through for those on an RTX card, and then I'll go through very quickly for those who do not have it, if you're using like AMD or something. So for those on NVIDIA RTX, what we're going to want to do is I have found great performance going custom. You can do whatever you want, really. I went custom, and I was tweaking with this a little bit again before the video. Effects quality, I find, you know, it's not incredibly noticeable if you go from ultra down to medium, because the big thing here is I like to put my texture quality rather than effects up to ultra. And then I bring shadows down to about medium. Now, something like texture quality and shadow quality and like anything in really any game, like lighting or even like foliage down here or view distance, really, you know, you're going to want to tweak these based off your FPS. For myself on the 2080 Super, I have found that I can go very consistently on medium to high, even ultra if I really want to. I might go a little bit below 144 with that. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to go medium texture quality just so the game looks pretty. If you have over, I would say 4 or 6 gigs of video RAM, you should have no problem with that. So I'm going to go ultra. I believe my card has 8 gigs. Shadows, I'm going to bring down to medium. Post-process quality, this one's totally up to you. Sometimes you see issues with like some skipping and whatnot if you crank this. For myself, I'm going to put it to medium. And then view distance, I always like to have this a little bit higher. I've noticed in this game though, with the amount of mobs and NPCs that you run into, and just how big the world is. I mean, sometimes you might not even notice if you go medium, just because of the terrain. You know, you might have a mountain or something. So if it's trying to render what's behind that, you know, it's not going to make a difference, but you're still going to suffer. So I like to put this about medium, maybe high. I'm going to leave it on medium. And then foliage. I mean, you can really go whatever you want. You know, in games that are competitive like Apex, I always recommend playing with everything all the way down, especially foliage, just so you can see other players easier. But for a game like this, where you're not really worried about like that form of competitive edge, you can kind of do what you want. I've been playing on a medium, and the game still looks great, so I have no issues doing that. So I'm gonna go ahead and click apply, and we'll back out, and I'll give you let you see the frames here. And you can see right at the top right, we are well over 144, pushing 160, 170. Granted, we're not in a crazy populated area. You can see as we load this section of the map, we might go to like 130, hit those 115s, but I mean, it's very stable. It's very fluid, very smooth. I've got no issues with this. So it's been it's been really nice. You know, I spent a great deal of time kind of playing around with this. You know, people have been asking, is it the server, is it me? And I think it really it's a little bit of both. You know, it's an online server-based game, even when playing single player, so you have to take that into account. One thing I want to do real quick is I mentioned I would go over what to do if you do not have an RTX card. So for those without an RTX card, this is going to be disabled, so this will be off. And in doing so, you'll notice that when we go to advanced, let me save this. We're going to go ahead and go to advanced. We have a new option that was grayed out before, and that's the anti-aliasing. Essentially, this is going to make objects a little less jagged. It's going to smooth things out. When you go ahead and have that setting on, this is just grayed out. When you're on the quality setting, it grays out at ultra. So for those that do not have an RTX card, you can now play around with this. Really for this, I mean, you're probably safe to leave just about everything the same. Again, you might want to tweak, maybe bring texture down a little bit depending on your card, and then play with these other ones, maybe go low here or high there. It's really up to you and what's important to you. A very easy one to turn off is always going to be shadows and foliage, because you won't really, with the fast pace of this game, you won't really notice those things as much, right? So going to anti-aliasing, you're probably going to want to play around, starting around medium, maybe low, and just you're gonna have to play it out. You're gonna have to try it out, maybe go a little bit higher. I have a buddy of mine that plays on AMD, and his car is a little bit older, and he's been very comfortably playing at medium with very similar settings. I think the only difference is that his foliage is low and his texture is on high, I believe. So you're gonna want to keep that in mind. Again, that is for those who do not have a let me not save that. That is for those who do not have an NVIDIA RTX card. But if you do, crank that. I recommend quality, absolutely. And then that's going to cap out at Ultra. But guys, that's what I got for today. If you're new to the channel and you haven't been to the stream before, my name is Vowels, primarily an FPS Apex Legends streamer. However, I am so excited for this game. We played it for the first time last night. It was an absolute blast playing with friends, and we're going to be playing it quite a bit, I believe, going into the future. I think this game has a ton of potential. They're just going through the week 1 hiccups. I don't think they quite expected such an interest, and that's understandable. People are going to bash the game, but I want to keep a glass half full outlook in this, and I'm very excited to see what the year brings with it. Guys, again, my name's Vowels. Feel free to check me out, twitch.tv/Vowels. Come say hello, let us know your builds. I'll be doing build videos in the future as well. So far I've been playing Trickster and having an absolute blast, going for a crazy high damage build, and we're gonna see how it goes, guys. So again, thank you so much for checking out the video, and that's what I got for today. I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one, guys.